Okay, here we go with the next section. Kind of moving on from posture to the feet. The feet are a big issue. People are standing. Yeah, a lot of people have jobs where they're standing all day, and they end up with a lot of foot pain. You may have a job where you're standing all day, working in a restaurant. End of the day, your feet are pretty beat up, pretty sore. Things we can do about that, things we can look at in terms of good kinesthetic awareness and doing things to relieve the strain on your body. It talks about this kind of grasping action with your feet. He has these explorations and exercises around that, kind of getting the arch back in your foot. So a lot of people have flat feet. They have no arch. They kind of come down hard, like Mr. Putin does. Kind of think of like rigid flippers versus thinking of your hand, like how's your hand grasp. He has the image of walking in sand, grasping hand versus rigid flippers. It's kind of more bending and arching of your foot versus being so flat and rigid. And your feet are key because they're really kind of a shock absorber. If you're just banging all day with that tuck foot, it's going to really do a number on your knees and your legs, going to tilt them inward, lead to these DNPs, all kinds of issues around knee pain, back pain. A lot of it goes back to the feet. You want your feet to be as relaxed, and doing this as naturally as they can. A key part of this also is getting the weight where it should be. It should be right over your ankle bones. It shouldn't be out here or back here. It should be right over your ankle bones. And this pencil exploration that we'll do in lab can really help facilitate that. This exercise 14, which you do in part 3, is a good way to get the arch back. We'll do that one. It's a simple one to do. Another one we're not going to be doing that you can do that's a great reliever for foot pain is like a little rubber ball, like a little racket ball. You take your socks off, you have your bare foot, and just rub the racket ball underneath your foot. Kind of torture yourself, really hit those areas where it's painful. Usually it's really painful through the arch. Do this after you come home from working a shift, at the restaurant or something. It can help relieve your pain. It's a great tool to have in your toolbox. I just don't want to use it this year because of the COVID stuff, with the skin and all that. Okay, and then bending over. Sorry to keep moving around and just into that. So to bend it over, you want to think about some certain things. It's not listed here, but you want to have a good, and we'll do this in the lab, good wide base. And you want to really bend and flex at the hip. Think of your hip as a hinge right there. A lot of people have such tight hips, they really have a hard time flexing and bending their hip. Even I've noticed a lot of young students, they have a hard time flexing their hip because they're just so stiff in here from sitting all day. They talk about, keeping your back straight when you bend over, which is a kind of a good rule of thumb, but you want a little bit of arch in your back. You want to keep that tilt. Don't want to lose that. Definitely bending at the hip. Keeping your body weight evenly distributed between your feet. As you come down and pick up the load. And in picking up the load, you want to keep it close to your body and then lift it up. So we'll do this in the lab and we'll grade each other till we get it right. And sometimes it takes a while to get it right. There's this test you can do, the foot lift test that we'll do. It shows you that whether you're putting your weight distribution the right way or the wrong way. Okay, so now we're ready to kind of go back to where we started with Mr. Putin. Again, he's got the pain in his low back, his neck, and his feet. So, he has the duck feet, excessive posterior tilt. How can we help him out? Let's kind of break these things down. So the first one is the posterior tilt. What do we do about posterior tilt? Let's go back to our chart if you can't remember. Posterior tilt, excessive posterior tilt, flat back. That is Mr. Putin. His rectus abs are overly engaged, as are his hip extensors. We want to use the hip flexors, a little bit more like that, iliacus and psoas. How can we engage those muscles? Exploration 1 through 4. The one you've been doing will help with excessive posterior tilt. It will bring them more into anterior tilt. This is next problem. Neck. It's got a forward neck. We want to know one about that. It's a good one. You already know about that. We did in the upper extremity lecture. I'm not sure we did in the lab, but it definitely was in the lecture in that neck treatment plan. Chin tuck. Chin tuck would be a good one for him. I would also think exploration number 5, what you're doing this week, would be a good one. It's going to have him visualize lifting his head up. And then he's got rounded shoulders. What can we do about rounded shoulders? We know that one already. You can do some rows, scapular retraction. You could do exploration 1 through 4 again. That would be really good for that as well. What about his feet? He's got foot pain. He's got that duck feet. We haven't done these yet, but those, the pencil one, definitely that sliding one to get more arch back into his foot would be very good for him. Number 17, I think it is. 14. Exercise 14 would be good for that. And foot pain, you could also give him the racquetball rubbing under his bare foot would be good. So that'll fix him up. All right, so that is